I wish I could brighten things up. Alright, let's try this. Can anyone hear me okay? Welcome, welcome. This one's a little brighter. I'll try this one out for a little bit. Are the glasses going to be too distracting? I'm not sure. I'm going to join my own stream to see if I can hear myself. Looks like I am live. Hey, I can hear myself. That is great news. All right, cool. Let's hide those. Welcome to everybody joining in. So I'm starting a little bit earlier than I anticipated, but I would like to go, actually a lot later than I anticipated. But to anybody who's never been in a live stream of mine before, my name is Jane. My hands are cold. I do this thing where sometimes I put my hands up to my cheeks to warm them up, and it looks like I'm surprised. Kyle used to ask me all the time, like, what's wrong? And I'd say, sorry, I'm just warming my hands on my face. That's probably a very weird thing to do. Hello, Toby! Nice to see you here. Today, I just wanted to have a nice, cozy, relaxing, end of year chill stream here on YouTube. Hello, Alora. I have before me a new mug that was gifted to Kyle by, I believe, one of his family members in the UP. And so it's got this cool boat on it. And I believe that this is the Mackinac Bridge, which, like, bridges the upper and lower peninsulas of Michigan. I've actually never been to the UP. So, anyways, I actually have very cold tea in this in this mug, and so I'm going to finish the cold tea while chatting with all of you today. Hello, Brandon! Oh, yes, the emoji use is very apropos for my glasses today. They are very reflective, but these were given to me by the lovely berries. I've wanted to get glasses like this for so long, so I'm so glad to finally have them. And these glasses specifically are the easiest ones for me to see through because the color is closest to clear. Honestly, I wouldn't mind getting a clear pair of these. That would be really fun. But I do have that pair with the red rims that I got from Daiso. Anyways, let me take a little sip of tea, but I would love to hear if anybody has any New Year's plans today, and I'll explain to you all why I'm glad I don't. So, one moment. I feel bad because I think Kyle really wanted to go out and do something. But I am feeling ill today. So I'm very grateful that there's not a major commitment that Kyle and I had made that would make me feel really bad about needing to cancel because I'm feeling it today, everybody. I'm feeling a little bit poopy. So I'm grateful that it's going to be a nice, relaxing day and that Kyle and I are going to be able to spend some time together and watch a movie, play some video games on the couch. I told him I really wanted some couch time today, but I thought it'd be nice to at least get together and spend some time chatting. Do you hear me okay? Can I get some ones in the chat? If I sit this far back, can you still hear me okay? Because I have a mic over here and I thought it might be nice for me to use my very fancy microphone in lieu of just using the audio straight through my phone. So let me know. Let me know if I'm a little quiet for you. All right, we got ones. Ones means it's good? Okay. Love the blue outfit today also. Relaxing and sleeping, your type of New Year's. I love it, Brandon, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. I would have, under better circumstances, tried to do something a little bit more exciting. We have been taking the last few New Year's in, and I feel a little bit guilty about that because I'm such a homebody, and I know it's not good for me, but you know, I looked into a bunch of events that were local, and they all have live music, and I might just be the biggest curmudgeon that's ever curmudgeoned because I just don't necessarily like going to enclosed spaces with live music. I just find the music is so loud and it bounces off the walls and everyone's talking and I'll just get a headache being in those spaces. I was never really into bars or clubs. And the only type of bars that I really enjoyed going to were the ones that first did not have any live music. Second, if they had music, it was quiet. Or third, were straight up dive bars. So maybe I am secretly a I don't know, a 55-year-old woman or something because I always vibed much more with like a low-key dive bar kind of feel than the loud popping like I love to talk as you all know. And I hate when I'm sitting across from somebody and I can't hear what they're saying because we all have to scream at one another to communicate. I hate that so much. So there was a part of me that didn't really want to like put myself out there and participate in that activity. So, yeah, you're the same way, Toby. Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to have like more of just like a low key formal type of going out for dinner sort of experience or something like that. A very tasteful champagne toast at the end of the night, something like that, right? But yeah, under the weather. I am so unfortunately under the weather. So, oh wow, Katie, welcome. It's your first time watching me on YouTube. How did you find out about my stream today? In fact, Brandon, your display name is not a name I'm used to either. I'd love to know how both of you found the stream today. Was it just YouTube pinging you? Was it my community post? Was it Discord? Was it one of? I actually tried to publish this link across my platforms today. I didn't post it on TikTok, but I tried to get the rest. So you're all for dinner parties and movie nights. Yes, dinner parties. Like that's very distinguished, and it's usually more low key. Like it's easier to have conversation with people, and you don't feel like you have to like hurt your throat just to scream at the person next to you while there's like the smell of beer just aromatically stenching the place up. I've just never been really super into the bar culture. And I had my time to participate in it, and I think I'm 32. Maybe I'm a little bit old for a lot of that stuff, but even when I wasn't considered old for that kind of stuff, I just never completely vibed with it. So New Year's Eve was always kind of a tricky thing. In Chicago, I would go to a friend's house. She would have a really nice, tasteful house party, and she would have a movie, and that was always really nice. So oh, it's Kayla from TikTok. Awesome. You got the ping from Discord. Well, welcome. I'm glad to see that you have made your way over to my YouTube. Now, YouTube is a little bit of a different thing. I'm sure that you're noticing some differences in the UI and everything. I'm curious about experimenting more with the features that this affords. I'm really liking having the ability to interact with different audiences. And I know it can be a little confusing when I'm used to interacting with a bunch of people on one platform and then everybody's got different usernames and such. So it could be a little bit to keep track of. So yeah, we don't know exactly what we're going to be doing tonight. But now that I'm feeling ill, we do plan to just take it easy. And I was gonna suggest that Kyle and I brought up we were gonna try playing some Just Dance, but now I am not feeling up for Just Dance. I'm up for cozy, casual gaming, something like Stardew Valley level chill, but not necessarily Stardew Valley. I'm not exactly sure yet, but I do feel bad that now I'm really limiting the activities that we could do this evening, but that's okay. That's okay. I think we're gonna find a nice movie. Last year we watched Snowpiercer, and that was such a delightful surprise. We were told that it was a New Year's movie and were confused about that, and then discovered that it is a New Year's movie, and it was a delight. So if you have not seen Snowpiercer and you like movies that are like Korean films, Snowpiercer is what's up. I highly recommend that for anybody looking for a New Year's Eve movie. Does anybody have any New Year's Eve movie suggestions? I suggested to Kyle that we watch Forrest Gump, but Forrest Gump he kind of vetoed that one. He's like, it's pretty long. I said, okay. So, well, thanks for popping in, KT. I always appreciate the lovely New Year's tidings, and Happy New Year to you as well. I hope that you have a lovely celebration. I like to see fireworks. I always like to tune in for the ball drop, so we'll probably get that set up on a laptop or something so we can watch the ball drop. So I would really like to do that. Every year I try to tune in for that. Yeah, and it's just a nice, sweet, romantic tradition. So you watched Castaway earlier. I love that movie. Castaway is probably one of the later Tom Hanks movies that I've seen. Like the ones that I grew up with the most were Forrest Gump, and there was the Toy Story movies. I didn't see Big until I was older either. Like, I was an adult the first time I saw Big. And Castaway, I was probably in my teenage years when I saw it. I'm trying to think about every Tom Hanks movie I've seen. I saw Sully more recently. I saw A Man Called Otto. I knew Kyle wouldn't like it. So I watched that one alone. It was a great movie for watching on an airplane, but really sad. It's if you like watching movies to feel sad, excellent movie to do that with. You might hear some beeps because I'm going to keep turning on and off my space heater because I like to stay warm. So, yeah, A Man Called Otto was sad. I've seen Philadelphia. My mom and I watched that movie a few years ago. Very sad, but an important movie. Was he in Saving Private Ryan? Gosh. I can't even remember. I've seen Saving Private Ryan, but I just can't. I'll have to look that up. I'll take your word for it. Yeah, I don't remember. I know I've seen the movie once, and it's a sad one. Talking about sad movies. Yeah, I also saw Saving Mr. Banks. I've never seen that one. There's so many Tom Hanks movies now. I'm trying to think of other. I'm looking up a list of Tom Hanks movies. We're going there. Let me type. All right, I got the list now. He was in Elvis? He was in Elvis. I watched the Elvis movie. List of Tom Hanks filmography. Here we go. The Money Pit. Never seen The Money Pit either. I feel like I've seen Splash. That was one of his first films. Far out. I grew up watching Splash. There's one with Leo DiCaprio. I'll name the ones that I've seen. Apparently there's a lot that I haven't seen. Oh, I've seen A League of Their Own. I grew up watching A League of Their Own. I love that movie. That's probably my favorite Tom Hanks line of all times. There's no crying in baseball. Oh, and I love Catch Me If You Can as well. I actually just watched that one again the other day. Catch Me If You Can is probably one of my favorite Tom Hanks movies. That one's on Netflix here in the US still, so I watched that one. It might have been removed, though, for all I know. But Catch Me If You Can, incredible movie. That's probably in, like, my top 50 movies. It'd be hard to say top 20, but it's so good. And, yes, A League of Their... Incredible cast for A League of Their Own. They had Rosie O'Donnell and Madonna being best friends? Come on, that's amazing. Oh, such a fun... Gina Davis was a knockout. Oh, my gosh. Amazing movie. Hello, Michael! Welcome to the stream. We're talking about A League of Their Own right now, which is a great movie, and I got Kyle to sit down and watch it. I don't watch sports movies, but I love A League of Their Own. It just gives me those, like, nostalgic vibes. And then I have a friend who's from Rockford, for, like, the Rockford Peaches. I have a friend from Rockford, Illinois, that was an old roommate of mine in college. And so when I first met her, I was like, oh my god, you're a peach! So it was really cute. She's such a sweetheart, too. But, yeah, I love that movie. That's probably I'm going through the list of all the Tom Hanks movies, just to mention the ones I've seen. Sleepless in Seattle, and then You've Got Mail, which are basically the same movie. There are major plot differences, but it's Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, so I've seen both of those, and I wouldn't watch those with Kyle. Like, I could watch some rom-coms with him, but I know he wouldn't like he wouldn't like watching either of those because they're a little bit too deep in the 90s rom-com soup, you know? You might watch that tonight. I kind of want to watch it too. I'm trying to think specifically of a New Year's Eve movie, though. I want to maintain festivity. So, yeah, so I've seen Sleepless in Seattle. I've seen Philadelphia, which is a really sad movie. It's about AIDS, and it's a pretty heavy film, but I recommend it. It was a moving picture. So that was a good movie. Toy Story, of course. Toy Story 2. The Green Mile. Another sad movie. Another heavy hitter. I haven't seen The Green Mile in a long time, but I feel like I need to prepare myself before watching that movie because the scenes in it can be so sad. I don't even like to think about it too much. It's super sad. Wow, man. The Terminal! Oh, man, there's so many good Tom Hanks movies. I love The Terminal. I don't remember how I learned about that movie, but I'll watch that movie like once every other year. I love flying, so that movie is just like it's such a nice, cozy, bittersweet movie. There's a movie New Year's Eve. It's one of those loads of celebs with different stories. Oh, like what was that really famous one? That doesn't give any information, but you guys know which one I'm talking about. It was like the one that I feel like started it all. It had Emma Thompson and Alan Rickman and a bunch of other people in it. Love Actually. Love Actually. That's the one I was trying to think of. I've only seen Love Actually. That one was cute. It was like a series of vignettes between a bunch of different stories. I found it to be a little bit too schmaltzy. Like, started feeling a little bit like it was veering into the Lifetime movie territory. And I know it's a movie that Kyle probably wouldn't like. So I don't really spend a lot of time watching rom coms because I like watching movies with Kyle. And if Kyle doesn't like them, I kind of feel lonely watching movies on my own. But that's not always the case. If it's a movie I've seen a million times, I'll throw it on in the background. Like, I like doing that. But yeah, so I haven't subjected Kyle to Love Actually. I think it's a fun movie though, but it can be a little bit like schmaltzy, I guess. We did sit down and watch White Christmas though. That was really sweet. It was cool to introduce him to that movie, and he really enjoyed it. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen White Christmas, I think it's about to leave Netflix if you're in the US. Looking at the list of Tom Hanks movies. So, continuing chronologically, The Polar Express. I saw that one in IMAX 3D when that train came in. Ooh, that felt crazy close. That was very cool. It was the IMAX in Michigan, the Henry Ford IMAX, which has like a 6-story tall screen. It's probably one of the biggest IMAXs in the world. I don't know if that's still the case, but when it was built in like the early 2000s, I know it was at that time one of the biggest in the world, if not the biggest. It's pretty incredible to go to that kind of legitimate IMAX experience. So that was always a real treat when I was back in Michigan to go to the Henry Ford IMAX. So highly recommend that. Saw Fantasia 2000 there. Lots of interesting movies to see. I saw Harry Potter 5 there. It turns out Kyle did too. So there's a small chance he and I met each other back in like 2006 or something, which is kind of neat to think about. And he was in Cars. Ah, there was a Woody car. Okay, I didn't know that. Well, I've technically seen Cars. I saw the Da Vinci Code a billion years ago. I don't know if I'd ever rewatch it, but apparently he was in that. I'm reading all the list of movies that he was in. He was in the sequel. I never saw the sequel to the Da Vinci Code. Toy Story 3, of course. I heard really bad things about Cloud Atlas. Apparently he was in that. Saving Mr. Banks. Haven't seen that. Sully. I saw Sully. Toy Story 4. Really disappointed that they made a Toy Story 4. I will die on that hill. I think Pixar compromised its integrity by making a Toy Story 4. There were things I liked about the movie. It was visually beautiful, but we should not exist in a world with Forky. Forky feels like my millennial boomer interpretation of Gen Alpha. It's like if a room of millennials got together and decided we need to make something that Gen Alpha is going to go ballistic for, and that is how Forky was born. Extremely loud, incredibly close is good, but it's sad. It's about the aftermath of 9/11. He's not in it much either. Ooh, that would be a rough movie. I definitely have an interest in watching 9/11 related stuff. It's hard for me to watch movies related to it. I was just talking to Kyle about this the other day. Documentaries about 9/11 have been really fascinating to watch, especially documentaries that are like firsthand accounts. But but watching movies can be tricky because it's like almost romanticizing 9/11 in a certain way, and I feel like we're not far enough away from the tragedy to start telling these, like, how do I put it? To tell fictionalized adaptations of stories that take place. Like, I even brought up to Kyle, like, none of us really, well, I don't know, maybe I'm not speaking on behalf of everyone, but people generally don't have any problems with the movie Titanic, even though it was a love story and assumedly was not based on any real life love story that took place on the boat. But the movie was about a tragedy that killed hundreds of people, and it's a very sad story in US history or world history. And I think it was so much more palatable to tell like a love story about it because it was like 100 years later almost. Whereas with 9/11 stuff, it's just it feels so close to home still, and it's such a lived experience for so many that it's hard for me to like give movies a chance. But I've seen some stuff. I'm curious about it though because we all remember if we're millennials or older, then we all have a very distinct recollection of that event in history. So very interesting. I didn't know that Tom Hanks was in a movie associated with 9/11. And yes, Toby, yeah, Forky. Forky feels designed for my nephew. And I never felt like Pixar pandered to young children in that same way with Toy Story 1. I felt like Pixar was more respectful in the way that they spoke to their audience. They treated children and adults as equals in the way that they told the story of Toy Story 1. And I felt like Toy Story 4 made a very distinct choice to selectively pander to the very young children in the room at the expense of every other demographic watching their movie. I don't like Forky. And it does not shock me that my nephew loved Forky. So, it's because Disney bought Pixar. Yeah, I'm sure that had major decisions, or had a lot to do with it. That's probably a fair point. They bought Pixar in what, like 2006? But Toy Story 3 was after Disney acquired Pixar, and I don't feel like Toy Story 3 made those choices in the same way. In fact, I really respected Toy Story 3 because it felt like, though it's not my favorite of the franchise, I felt like they distinctively chose to end the story. It felt very much like a final chapter. And it was a bold and beautiful move they made. It was a bold and beautiful move. Bachelor Party. Is that the name of a movie that whatchamacallit was in? That Tom Hanks was in? Or are you just saying Bachelor Party? But welcome, Michael. There are 2 Michaels in the chat now, I believe. So, that's my long of the short opinion on Toy Story 4. I will die on that hill. I thought it was pretty, and I liked Bo Peep as a character. I was really disappointed with the main antagonist storyline. I thought that everything that should have given her character development was taken away at the very end of her story. And I thought it really came at the expense of her character arc. And it made me sad to see that they were making a decision to split the cast of the crew that we came to know and love for 2 decades. So, I don't know. It was a weird movie. Toy Story 4 was a weird movie, everybody. It was cool to sit down with Kyle and then hear his opinions on it after I had seen it like a year or 2 before and just hear what he thought about it. And he agrees. He agrees. I think a lot of people feel that way about a lot of things, where we have so much respect for an author when they close off a story, or for a video game or a movie where they just complete the story and they leave it as is. But then with the way of Hollywood and with the way of capitalism and with the way of like pilfering nostalgia, these conglomerates just keep bringing back things from the dead and beating these dead horses and rebooting and revamping and re-releasing and starting up stories from where they left off, and we all know why. It's the safer bet. It's the safer IP. It's the safer call, and and it's rare for them to actually successfully do it if it's been like 2 decades or something. I don't know. I mean, Wednesday went really well, right? So that was like a more recent case of a like an Addams Family reboot, and that was super successful. So I don't know. I didn't watch it, but I know that there are occasions like that where people will introduce it to the new generation and put a new spin on it, which there's something to be said for that, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just I think everybody's kind of bummed by it because then it's harder for new ideas to blossom and become fresh when you're just kind of being drowned out by the same franchise beating the same dead horse for 3 decades. Well, I didn't mean to rant on this stream. I meant to talk about the end of the year. I meant to talk about New Year's resolutions. Does anyone here in the audience happen to have one? I made one last year, and it was a simple one. And I was very adamant about making it a simple New Year's resolution. I decided that I wanted to go on a walk once a week. Yes, Brandon. That is a very succinct way of putting it. A lack of creativity. And I understand why, because it takes courage to make something new and it's more of a risk. And I think companies can't afford the risk like they used to be able to. Hello, John. Welcome to the stream. I'll wave right back at you. So, yeah, and from what I've been told, I mean, this could have been a lie. Maybe I misread misinformation or something, but from what I've been told, TV studios used to depend a lot on their box office sales being related to DVD releases and stuff. Like that would be that second surge of revenue that they were hoping for. And nowadays people stream everything and like the revenue structures are different. People aren't paying the same amount of money that they used to stream movies and the waters have muddied up and changed. And so now studios are taking less risks because they can't afford to like make the same calls that they used to, and they're depending more on international box office sales, but like not international, just like global box office sales. So then they're making less comedies because if they're making comedies, they might cater better to US audiences and humors, but they may not register as well or as funnily in other countries that don't have the same kind of humor. So now we're getting less of an entire genre of movie, or the studios aren't investing in those types of genres of movies because they can't afford to have a smaller audience pay for tickets to see these movies in the same way that they used to be able to. And that kind of stuff is just really fascinating to think about. I don't know. The state of the industry. I'm a very much an outsider in the world of Hollywood. I am simply a consumer of what they create like everyone else. So my insights are only, they can only go so far. But yeah, so I made a New Year's resolution for this year to go on a walk at least once a week. And as far as I'm aware, I've been able to keep to that resolution pretty simply if I do say so myself. My resolution for this year, I thought about just you like this mug, you say? Me too. Isn't it a lovely mug? I'm certainly smitten with it. I'm certainly enjoying it, despite the fact that my tea is cold now. It's still yummy, still yummy to consume. But for this year, I thought that the resolution could just be more nebulous and doesn't necessarily have to be action or goal oriented. Where maybe I could just be sillier. And I think over the next few weeks, I can learn how to concretely define what be sillier means. But I think for me, that personally means pursuing the ideas that sound crazy and ridiculous and ignite a fire under me. And I feel like the ideas that I have the most fun with tend to be the ideas that people most respond to. So that's that I feel is like in order to make my career what I want it to be and to have fun doing what I want to do, I need to make sure that I'm pursuing ideas that light a fire of passion under me. And those types of ideas tend to be the silliest ones. So, Kyoki, I agree. I cannot believe it's the end of 2023. The years just keep going by quicker and quicker. And it sure doesn't feel like the end of 2023. Especially because moving out here to Maryland Winter is different out here than the Midwest. I grew up in the Midwest, and I'm so used to the temperatures being frigid by this time of year, and usually there's some type of snow on the ground, or there's ice, or hail, or something like that. But right now it's just colder. That's all. It's like 47 degrees here. That's not too bad, especially for the end of the year. So I'm liking that. But it sure doesn't feel like the end of the year. It feels like Christmas should not have happened yet. But I'm looking forward to 2024. I'm looking forward to the next page. 2023 was kind of a tricky year for me. Wasn't kind of, it definitely was. There were a lot of ups and downs, but it was 60 on Christmas here in Chicago today. Oh, all right, not today. You said on Christmas. Yeah, that's crazy. I think the weather was really nice here too. My last year that I lived in Chicago, I was in well, the second to last year that I lived in Chicago was 2019. It was 65. And it was a beautiful sunny day. And I went out to the Bean because I just thought, gosh, I'm living in Chicago. I don't have any plans today. I'm just going to go out and do a weird, silly thing. And it was wonderful. And I had a blast. So if I were still living in Chicago and it was 60 degrees, I would have forced myself to get up and go out and just do something. Take advantage of that beautiful weather. 60 degrees, though. That's amazing. You just have rain, rain, and more rain and flooding. Oh, gosh. That sounds very much like England. What outfit did you wear when you went to the Bean? Very interesting question, Time Wizard. Why, I wore an elf outfit, of course. How can I leave the house on Christmas Day without wearing the proper apparel? I can show you guys the picture. Let me show you guys the picture. I'm going to pull it up on my computer. Let me pull up the... let's see, I'll do a search for Bean. There I am! That was an easy search. Here we go. Bean weather. It was Bean weather. Okay. How do I flip? There we go. There I am. I even put lipstick on! Ooh la la! You can see me reflected in the Bean up there. I wore my fancy shoes, and I just sketched the Bean. Welcome, Sam! Thanks for joining in. Right now, we're just hanging out, chatting, talking about the end of the year and the new year to come. So if you have any thoughts about the turn of the year, feel free to share them. I know today is 123 if you follow the U.S. structured calendar. So I think that's kind of neat. I saw you've shared that in the Discord, Alora. But yeah, it's I'm grateful that the year is ending, everybody. Maybe it's weird to say that, but it's true. I was typing out so many things that I was thinking about sharing in the venting Discord channel that we have on my Discord server, and I decided not to. So I actually deleted everything, and then shared other thoughts that I had that were a little bit more topical. But they were very existential. What TV shows am I most looking forward to in 2024? That is a great question. I'm looking forward to The Boys. I think that'll be out in the summer. I'm looking forward to... I don't think... Maybe the next season of Blue Eye Samurai, but I don't think that will be out in 2024. That could be a 2025. I guess maybe the end of Stranger Things is happening? What else is coming out in 2024? I should look that up. I'm curious, like highly anticipated shows 2024. Let's see. There's probably going to be another season of And Just Like That. That's like one of my guilty pleasures, so I'll watch that. And Just Like That is the show after Sex and the City. There's a new Ryan Reynolds movie about imaginary friends. I like Ryan Reynolds. Toby, you mentioned that you saw the new Hunger Games, right? I wouldn't mind seeing that at some point. I'm looking at most anticipated TV shows of 2024 according to IMDb. So the new Avatar show is coming out, and I don't know, I might tune in and see an episode or two and kind of like see what that's like from there. Looking at more pictures of stuff. I'm reading the list to see what is coming out. Oh, apparently there's going to be another Castlevania show. We just started watching a Castlevania show. You almost finished the audiobook for the new Hunger Games. You couldn't finish it, though. Why couldn't you finish it, Time Wizard? I couldn't finish it either. River said you watch it, you've gotta? I do want to see it. I gotta tell Kyle that we gotta go see it. I definitely would like to see it at some point. I don't know if I need to see it in theaters, but what a coincidence. A coincidence indeed. I'll say so. That is a curious coincidence. I'm looking at the list of shows. Oh, there's a Dune TV series coming out. I thought for a sec it said Emma Watson, but it's Emily Watson. I was like, Emma Watson? There's a show called Powerpuff? Wait, what? It's in pre-production. Whoa. 3 disillusioned women in their 20s with superpowers who used to fight crime together and now resent having lost their childhood to that are faced with the choice of reuniting now that the world needs them more than ever? Has anyone heard of this? I gotta show you guys the cover to this. It's a CW show, which they should make a season 2 of Firefly. I don't think that's ever gonna happen, though. Look at this. They just have this show. It's CW, though, so that really speaks a lot to, like, I don't know, Gilmore Girls was CW, so maybe it'll be, like, Gilmore Girls level storytelling. That is a very curious, never heard of this show before. I would watch episode 1. It's got Tom Kenny in it? Wasn't he the voice of SpongeBob? What is he known for? Yeah, he's the voice of SpongeBob. They got the voice of SpongeBob in this Powerpuff show. I am so confused. Okay, well, I'm anticipating Powerpuff. That sounds very interesting. And now we're getting 2023 stuff, it seems. Yeah. I guess that's some of the stuff that I would be interested in seeing. That was an IMDb list. I didn't recognize most of the stuff. But The Boys is coming out. I'm very excited about it. We watched Gen V, and I did not go into Gen V with high hopes or expectations, and was delightfully astounded. So if you liked The Boys and have been, like, not sure about Gen V, I recommend, and I feel like the storyline of Gen V will connect with the Boys universe. So there's going to be information from that show that you'll appreciate knowing, even potentially in the next season. At least I assume. So. Did I ever tell you guys the story about the time I made an absolute fool of myself to a person that I thought was an actor, and then I found out that they weren't? It can be a good comedy. Referring to what, Saman? The new, there were a few things that I mentioned, so feel free to... You accidentally shut your Wi-Fi off, Laura? Oh no. It's okay. Powerpuff. Yeah, it could be a good comedy. I agree. I think you're totally right in that. The premise is curious, and I think that can make it really fun. This kind of harkens back to conversation earlier about how they keep bringing back old franchises, but look, they hook, line, and sunk me. They knew that I, a casual millennial, would remember Powerpuff Girls in fond recollection, and they knew they should cash in on that again. So, does that make me a hypocrite? Probably. I'm literally interested in a reboot, so... But none of the other shows that was mentioned on that list sounded interesting to me, so... I don't know. Maybe the only good stuff is the stuff they're digging up from the 90s. But, yeah, so when I went to TikTok Live Fest, I met this guy who is an impersonator for the character Negan in the what's the name of that show? Walking Dead. I believe that's the name of that character. And I never watched Walking Dead. And this guy was dressed as the character and looked so much like him that I walked up to him and I was like, I've drawn you before, because someone once commissioned me to do an Etch A Sketch drawing of that person in the show. And we chatted, really nice conversation. I was a little tipsy sipsy, if you know what that means. I had a little bit of no juice in my system because I was at a live event with an open bar, so that should help connect the dots. And I was just so overwhelmed from all of the circumstances involving the event that I was just not picking up. The synapses were not firing in my brain that this person was an impersonator and not the actual actor. And I believe he mentioned it at least 2 or 3 times, and he was very understated and polite about it. And I just kept being like, whoa, so why do you live here? Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. You don't live in Hollywood. And he would say all these things that didn't like make the most sense to me. And I'm like, that's curious that like you're a Hollywood actor, but you like flew out here to be at this event. And then like I went up to him later and I was like, so I looked you up on IMDb. And I said, you're going to be in The Boys? And he's like, the guy that I'm impersonating is going to be in The Boys. And I'm like, wow, so that's so cool. Like, I have to tell my friends I met you. And I'm like, why was my brain not braining that day? I look back and cringe so hard because I promise you guys, I believe I'm not an airhead under most circumstances in life, but I had at least 2 beverages in me, and I was very nervous because I was the sole speaker at this event for TikTok, and I was so full of jitters, and I was just trying to make small talk conversation, and I feel like I was missing half the words this very polite, friendly guy was saying, and I just felt like the biggest dope. It was my most airheaded moment possibly my entire life, that I just could not understand that he kept telling me he was an impersonator and not the real guy. You know what? I'm sure he was very flattered. And I don't think I ever adequately articulated to him afterwards that I realized, egg on my face, that this person was not the actor. And it makes sense, because why would the actor show up wearing their costume from one of their gigs? Like, I feel like actors never do that. So, can you tell that I have like 0 Hollywood experience? Anytime I go to LA, I'm always a complete fish out of water. It is an entirely different universe there. I don't think I will ever feel comfortable or at home in any LA centric environment. I'm just not meant for that world, everybody. I am not meant to live in that universe. I'm very much a Midwest, East Coast mentality kind of person. And apparently my Midwest like gullibility is very high, where I just assume that people are like actual celebrities just hanging out in a room or something. But I do have to say, to my credit, despite the fact that I, for some reason, truly believed that this person was a celebrity, I felt like I was very respectful and chill with them. I didn't fawn. I didn't ask for a selfie. I didn't do the whole, can I have an autograph thing. I felt like I played it very cool. So if this person were not a theoretical celebrity and was the actual real deal, then I think they would have fondly recollected my conversation with them, because I tried to be cool. And I feel like that's the LA thing to do. Like, people who live in LA, they name drop, but the way that they name drop, it's like, oh yeah, I'm trying to think of a name of an actor. Matthew McConaughey. I run into him all the time at Starbucks. It's so annoying. Like, I feel like that's the only way to name drop somebody properly. Like, no, I would never go up to him. That's like so rude. Celebrities hate when you do that. It would be cool if Hollywood actors walked around in costume all the time. I think they should. It's like when when the guy who played Walter White, you see my knowledge of Hollywood celebrity. I can't think of the name of the actor who played Walter White. It's gonna come to me in 10 minutes, but I can't think of it right now. But he walked around the San Diego Comic-Con floor wearing a Walter White cosplay over his face, and then he took it off when he got to the panel. Thank you, Bryan Cranston. I will not confirm or deny the allegations of that comment that was left by Time Wizard. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm trying to think if I ever actually met a celebrity and had a meaningful conversation with them. So, hello, Betty! Cheers to you as well. Welcome to the stream. We are chatting about celebrities right now. If you have any celebrity encounter stories, feel free to share them in the chat. I mentioned once that I saw Oprah, and she was supposed to be there, so it wasn't like a wild Oprah appeared encounter. And to this day, I shudder at my response because I call it the Oprah effect. I didn't watch Oprah. I knew of Oprah, of course. My friend's mom watched Oprah on TV, and that's the only Oprah I watched in my entire life, was in passing on the way to hang out with my friend. And somehow an out-of-body experience appeared, or took over me. And it's like I couldn't control the words coming out of my mouth. I spotted Oprah, and I go, Oprah! Hi, Oprah! I love you, Oprah! Oh my god, it's Oprah! I love you! And I'm screaming and shouting, and I've got my camera out, and I'm taking pictures of Oprah, and I don't even know why I did that, you guys. I was like 17 years old. And a whole crowd of people surrounded me, and we are all screaming, "We love you, Oprah!" And she turns toward us. She's getting her makeup done at the top of this big trailer that's parked on a bridge in Chicago, and she turns and goes, "Hi!" And it was the most Oprah hi with the most like princessly wave. And we were all just like, "We love you, Oprah!" And we're taking pictures. And then I'm walking down the street and I call my mom and I'm like, "Mom, I just saw Oprah. I'm gonna cross it off my Chicago bingo card. I just moved to this city and I already saw Oprah." And people are hearing me bragging about seeing Oprah, and they're stopping me on the street mid-phone call and saying, "Where's Oprah?" And then I'll pull out my camera and I would show them the picture. I'd be like, "She's over there." And then the police had to get involved and escort people off the bridge. So, you met Bill Nighy? He was the villain in Detective Pikachu. He's great. He's the one that did the song, right? He asked you where Debenhams was and you were in the store. He did that, like, that really bad Christmas song, right? It isn't Oprah unless you get a free car. Ah, see, that's what I should have screamed. I should have screamed I wanted a free car. Although that would have been the worst time in my life to ever get a free car, because I had moved to Chicago a month before and would not require a car for the next 11 years of my life. It would have been a major inconvenience to receive a free car from Oprah in that moment. That's really funny. That, honestly, that's an incredible celebrity story. You were in the store, he asked where it was, you said we're in it. My sister once met Marie Antoinette. Kirsten Dunst. My sister met Kirsten Dunst when she was living in Los Angeles. And my sister was out smoking a cigarette outside, and Kirsten Dunst was looking for the location of a bar that was difficult to find because there was inadequate signage. And my sister loves Kirsten Dunst because one of her favorite movies is Marie Antoinette, and so she had to play it like mega ultra super cool. And she was just like, "Oh, yeah, I know where that bar is. It's always so annoying." And then they both, like, complained with one another about how annoying it was to locate that bar because the signage was inadequate for the location. And so they, like, bonded briefly over a mutual inconvenience. And I thought that was really cool. And then Kirsten Dunst left and went on her merry way and found where she was looking to go, and they never saw one another ever again. And that was the extent of that interaction from what I was told. And I like that story because it's just a little simple vignette. I have a friend who once saw John Mahoney in New York City. And I am so jealous of that friend because John Mahoney played the dad in Frasier. And that would be an incredible and awesome celebrity encounter. I don't know what I would ask John Mahoney if I met him. Now, he passed away, but he would be a super cool person to meet. I would love to meet any of the main cast of Frasier. That would be such an honor, and I would have to think a lot about what I would ask them if I had the opportunity to ask them a question. I've told the story before, but I had an opportunity to ask a celebrity a question one time, and that was Julie Andrews because I paid to go to a Q&A session. And the way that it worked is they had us write on note cards our question that we were hoping to ask Julie Andrews, and then they were collected, and then a moderator would choose cards from the stack. So not everybody's questions got to be asked, but that way it mitigated anybody being able to blurt something into a microphone or something like that. So I had already at that point read like 2 or 3 biographies on Julie Andrews because she's my favorite actress, and I was so excited to be in the same room as her. The moment she walked onto the stage, I just started bawling my eyes out. Definitely was starstruck by Julie Andrews. And so I thought to myself, what is a question that nobody has ever asked Julie Andrews before? She spent the entirety of her life being interviewed. She's heard every question under the sun. There's nothing I could do to stump her or prove to her that I'm one of her biggest fans ever, right? So I thought long and hard, and I thought, what is something that the biographies would never cover? So I wrote down the question, can you hula hoop? Because I thought no one's ever asked her that, and no one would have ever thought of asking her that. And the moderator, when she got to my card, laughed before she read it. And I made friends with the women sitting to the right of me, and I like tugged on her sleeves and I said, oh my God, I think this is my question, you guys. I think this is my question. And lo and behold, they then asked Julie Andrews, they said, oh, I'm a little embarrassed to read this question, but can you hula hoop? And Julie Andrews laughed. And I thought, oh my God, I made Julie Andrews laugh. And then the whole audience laughed. And I floated out of my seat and looked down upon myself and the rest of the audience. And I thought, it can't get better than this. I am fulfilled. I am whole. Everything I've wanted in life has just occurred in this moment. And I got to ask Julie Andrews a question, and it made her laugh. And I was so proud of myself. And her answer was, I do not know how to hula hoop, but I do know how to mattress slide. And she said that she did the stunts in the movie, in the Eloise movie, where she slid down a slide on the mattress. And I was shocked to learn that she can't hula hoop because she's like such a gifted, multi-talented woman, and you would think that at some point she would have learned how to hula hoop, but apparently not. So color me surprised. Welcome to everybody joining in. We got 11 people in the room. That is fantastic. And I see Penny. Hello, nice to see you here. And Wrecked LOL. Welcome to the stream as well. So, and yes, and Princess Diaries too. Yeah. So it was amazing. So that is technically a celebrity encounter, but it wasn't a surprise celebrity encounter. I had signed up for that experience. I had anticipated with great excitement the meeting with Julie Andrews. So, yeah. Oh, you thought I was talking about Taylor Swift? I've never met Taylor Swift. I've never gone out of my way to meet Taylor Swift. It would be cool to meet her, but I don't I feel like if I were to meet Taylor Swift, it would be a disservice to a fan who is a bigger fan of Taylor Swift. Like if I bought a concert ticket knowing just how ravenous the world is for concert tickets for Taylor Swift, I feel like my presence at the concert would be a waste of a seat for someone else who's actually a diehard Taylor Swift fan. Like, I would feel bad if someone gave me a ticket. I'd be like, please give it to someone else. I know Shake It Off, and I know you were trouble when you walked in, but I don't know enough Taylor Swift to fully appreciate her amazing abilities. So, you saw my post last Christmas and you were so interested in how I'm doing. Aw, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. I'm doing all right, taking it low key for New Year's Eve and just relaxed. So let's check in with what Brandon just said. Out of all celebs, 2 would be on your list to meet. 2 completely different spectrums. Samuel Jackson and Amanda Tapping. So Samuel Jackson is an awesome choice. I don't know who Amanda Tapping is. Who would my top two be? Well, one of them would have been Julie Andrews. I'm gonna have to think about the other one. I'm gonna have to think hard about the other one. It. Oh man. The cast of Frasier would be really cool to meet. I think that meeting Kelsey Grammer or David Hyde Pierce or BB Newirth, like those three especially would just be, I would just get so jazzed. Or like Perry Gilpin, she played Roz. Jane Leeves, she played Daphne. Like that would, oh, that would be so cool. That would be really cool. But there's also like, as far as like more traditional like mainstream celebrities that are like in blockbuster films and stuff, Ryan Gosling would be cool, I guess, because he was, Ken, and he's pretty funny. Ryan Reynolds is cool. Um, but I don't know if I would prefer to meet any of the Frasier cast over them. You used to be obsessed about meeting Ellen DeGeneres, but not bothered now. I can understand that. I guess I technically got to meet Kelly Clarkson because I was on the Kelly Clarkson show, but it was a virtual interview, and I was definitely her, like I was starstruck, and she was so flattering and sweet, and I feel like I'm a bigger fan of her now than I was then, because then I was just familiar with her biggest hits, but now I've seen like clips of her getting on American Idol and stuff, and I just realized what an amazing and bright and shining personality Kelly Clarkson has, and how much more I respect her for like hustling her genuine energy into stardom. I think she just hook, line, and sunk the judges. She charmed them, and she parlayed that with her natural born talent and her skills into mega stardom, which I think she earned. She's awesome. So gotta go. Take care. Good speaking with you. Look forward to future posts. Happy New Year's and have a great one. Same to you too, Rect. Thanks for popping in. How do I feel about combining Taylor Swift with Screaming Goats? I feel like that question is so specific that it has to be a thing that exists already. So, I would say I would be curious. Oh, you know what? I know what you're talking about. It is very good. It is very good. I approve of it, and I think we should have more of that in the world. Any of the remaining Friends cast would be cool to meet. It would be cool to meet Lisa Kudrow. I think if there's anyone I could meet on the Friends cast, Lisa Kudrow, because she was in Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion, and I like that too. So, oh, thank you, Rect, for the compliment. I'll give you guys a little bit of a fit check. I'm wearing jeans today, nothing crazy, but this hoodie is actually a unicorn hoodie, but I'm wearing a hat. So, but I'm wearing this cozy thing. This is from, the brand is called 6% Doki Doki, which is very whimsically Japanese, and I love it. So it's a J fashion brand, a Japanese fashion brand, and this hoodie is also from it. So I like 6% Doki Doki. So yeah, it's a very good YouTube video. I haven't seen it in a long time, so it is beautiful. So if you haven't seen Taylor Swift with goats yet, I highly recommend. It is a ride. It is a riot. I haven't thought about it in a long time. I always feel like an owl when I wear my glasses down here, or like a stern librarian judging you. Late fees. You turned in your book late. There we go. Yeah, that's an interesting question. If there's anybody that you would die to meet as a celebrity, who would you collectively choose? I've always wanted to meet Tom Hanks so I could tell him, oh my god, you're oh my gosh, why can't it? Oh, you're Steve Hanks's cousin. So Steve Hanks was a watercolor painter who was really popular in like the 80s, 90s, even 2000s. He passed away, I believe, in like the early 2010s. But he was an Etch A Sketch artist who was most popular in the 80s. And so if I ever met Tom Hanks, I would go up to him and be like, oh my god, are you Steve Hanks's first cousin? I'm a huge fan of his work. Oh my gosh, it is such an honor to meet a family member of Steve Hanks. That would be my plan. If I ever met Tom Hanks, I would totally talk up his cousin and try to really use that as my angle. Have I ever seen an owl in the wild? As a matter of fact, I did just see an owl in the wild for the first time. I wish I could get a picture of it, but I brought my little binoculars with me and went with Kyle to walk into the woods, and there it was. It was beautiful. It was big. It was a big owl. It was so cool. You'd love to meet Natalie Portman. That's a good choice. I was just talking about Natalie Portman with Kyle last night. Kyle and I were in bed, and I said, what if I was bald and you had long hair? And I don't even know if Kyle responded because it was late at night and I get super chatty at night and Kyle gets very tired at night, like normal human beings. And I said, well, Natalie Portman was bald and she was pretty hot. Like, she made it work. I wish I could witness that moment. The Natalie rap on SNL is incredible. Yeah, she makes bald work. I think some people, it works better than others. Alec Benjamin, Love, or Lund would be the singers I'd want to meet. Oh, you guys! I want to meet Thomas Dolby. That's who I want to meet. That's the singer. If I had to pick one celebrity, I guess I would probably pick Thomas Dolby because I think I would have the most that I would want to say to him that I would be the most giddy about and the most excited. So I feel like I would go into it and be like, your music means so much to me. I love all these songs and this is my favorite CD and all those things. So that would probably be if I could meet like anyone. And there's like an actual probability that maybe someday I will be in the same room with him because he lives in Baltimore. I could actually run into him on the streets. And then I thought that would be so cool because that's kind of like almost a parody of one of his music videos that he did with a collaborator that I really like in the 80s. And so I could run into him and be like, oh my gosh, it's just like your music video Fieldwork, except I'm not stalking you. It just naturally happened. And then I would have to backtrack from that immensely and try to like communicate to him that, no, I'm not a creeper. I genuinely ran into you on accident. And I thought to myself, if I ever ran into you on accident, I could say this to you. But I think no matter what, he would probably interpret that as me stalking him, which is just not a good look. So I would have to rework that a little bit. Got to workshop that interaction theoretically. So hopefully I don't run into him in a circumstance that makes him concerned about my mental state. So maybe it would be better for me to meet him in like a location where he has consented to having fans pay to meet him in a mutually safe environment. So Cyndi Lauper, oh, that's a good choice. That's a very good choice. She did a little bit of stuff, I think, a little collaborative stuff with Thomas Dolby back in the day. But yeah, I would love to meet Thomas Dolby. That would be really cool. And then there's like artists that I would really like to meet. Google's yet he finds the stream. If he finds the stream, then that's great because I've already explained myself. I could tell him exactly what I was planning to say, and then he could say in response, oh, I remembered you talking about that on YouTube. Neat fact, I submitted fan art to the then official Thomas Dolby fan email, which I don't even know if it exists anymore, but I was in high school, and so I did a drawing of Thomas Dolby on a classic size Etch A Sketch, and it said, she blinded me with science, because that, of course, was like my first exposure to Thomas Dolby, as it is for many, because it is his one-hit wonder, although he is so much more wondrous than that one hit. And I submitted it and I got a response, and I think it's signed from Thomas, but I don't know if it actually was. But I remember freaking out so much because I was just so giddy to have gotten a response at all. And I felt like, oh my gosh, the power of this toy is incredible. So yeah. My celebrity to meet would be Joel Hodgson. He created, Joel from Mystery Science Theater. I have a friend who paid a very good amount of money to meet Joel. And he actually gifted Joel an Etch A Sketch drawing that I made of the new Mystery Science Theater crew because they paid a lot of money to be a part of that like multi-city tour that they were doing back in the day. I'll show you the drawing that I did. So Joel technically, I suppose he theoretically owns a piece of my art because he told me that he handed it off to Joel. I wonder if I could show a picture of it like with the frame. Here, I'll show you a picture. I'll show you guys a picture of the drawing. This is the drawing that I did. And, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. There's things I do differently these days, but, like, overall, I'm pretty happy with the Etch A Sketch drawing. Took a long time to do. Took a long time. That is a very cool celebrity choice, though. And I feel like it's an accessible celebrity choice, too. Like, some celebrities, they're just, like, meeting Taylor Swift. I think most people these days probably will never have the opportunity. It's just too much. Too many people want to meet her, and she just commands too high an audience for that to happen. I feel like the celebrities I want to meet are, like, a little more down to earth, I guess. In that, like, they're more accessible, probably, to the average Joe. For artists you want to meet me, Toby? We gotta meet at some point when I come out to Chicago. That's gotta happen at some point. Pixel Dude is such a good choice, too. Pixel Dude is very cool. He's very chill. Do you know where Pixel Dude is? I know Pixel Dude is, like, out in the wilds. He's, like, remote. And Emma Towers Evans. I think you showed me Emma Towers Evans' work before. You made your own bots? You did? Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. I know there are celebrities who, like, probably own my work. I don't know what they do with it when they own it. I've never personally given work to a celebrity. I've received, like, endorsements from celebrities. So Pee Wee Herman blogged about me, which was an incredible experience and one of the coolest, most validating things in my niche little silly world of Etch A Sketch art, to receive positive praise from one of the most celebrated silly people in entertainment history. So that was truly magnificent and amazing. And then I also received an endorsement on Facebook. One day, Britney Spears shared an article about my work. She just shared it. It was amazing. I have a screenshot of it because I couldn't believe it. Like, the Britney Spears. And I don't know why she shared it, but she did. And this is the screenshot because I was just shocked. This was back in 2016. And there it is. Britney Spears, May 29th. She called my work incredible. And she shared an article about my work. And 12,000 people agreed. And thanks to this post, I sold that drawing. I sold that drawing because somebody read this article, saw Britney Spears shared it, and bought that drawing. And I was just completely gobsmacked that Britney Spears shared my work. And then one day I was looking up my name on Twitter, and I found out that Joseph Gordon-Levitt tweeted about my Etch A Sketch art one day. Another complete surprise, would never have guessed in a million years. And this is the tweet, which was very flattering because he spelled my name right, and most people don't do that. And this just, he just shared a picture of my art in 2022, and that was pretty darn cool. A very nice surprise. Never would have expected it in a million years endorsement. So Helena Bonham Carter would be awesome to meet. You saw her in London but didn't talk to her? Oh, that's so cool. I know someone who met Alan Rickman twice. They would go to London every other year, and they would go see a lot of the Shakespearean shows, and they would get nice seats that were, like, close to the stage. And so they would go every other year, and one year they were seated, I think, directly in front of Alan Rickman. And they were like, we're not gonna bother him. We're not gonna speak to him. And then they went back 2 years later, and they saw him again, and I think he was, like, sitting next to them or something. And I think at that point, I don't know if it was Alan Rickman or if it was them that acknowledged it, but it was, like, a very awesome, chill, down-to-earth, amazing conversation, and they only speak, like, incredibly highly of Alan Rickman. It was an honor, I can only imagine. I would have loved to have met Alan Rickman. That would have been cool. Yeah, Pee Wee tracks. But Brittany's surprising, right? Brittany is like a left field. You're scared of Chicago driving. I'd probably Amtrak there and hope to catch an Uber. Yes, I don't blame you there. I don't know how comfortable you are with the public transit system in Chicago, but it's pretty darn good. It's pretty robust. I know it's not as good as it used to be, but I do like the CTA. And once you park your car somewhere, you could just hop on the trains and go all over the place. But I also Uber in Chicago, too. There's a place I know of that does skydiving further south in Illinois. I've heard about this place. I think there's a place that's, like, near Wisconsin that does it too. I have an acquaintance who went skydiving. I'd like to do skydiving someday. Have I had any art done on the Etch A Sketch Skadoodle? Great question, Nintendo Lunchbox. So I have a Skadoodle, but it is not fully functional. It actually is a little bit broken. Like, I can't operate it entirely on the screen. There's like a part where it gets stuck. So I've never made any meaningful art on the Skadoodle because the only one I have is like partially broken. Yeah, Alan was great. You're. What? How did I not know this, Alora? How long have you been sitting on this information? That your dad is a professional skydiver? It's been years, and this never came up? It's on my bucket list to go skydiving someday. That's wild! Your dad is... Did we not just recently have a stream about family members with cool professions? This was like this stream just happened like the other day, and we were talking about like, do we have any like distant family who've done cool things? You must not have been in that stream, because that is curious information. That is dinner party information you drop at the table if you want the spotlight to go right on you. Your dad is a professional skydiver? What? That is so cool. Yeah, no worries, no worries. I understand. He doesn't do it full time, but still, I mean, you have to do a lot of skydiving for it to become professional. I remember Kyle telling me about how there were people in the skydiving club at his college, and I'm sure I'm going to botch the story, but the people in the skydiving club, they would help to pack the parachutes, and that was like the dues that they would pay to get like a free dive or something like that. And the time it takes to pack the parachute is immense, and it's a laborious effort, and that was how they like pay their dues to like to log in their hours skydiving. And that's right. You mentioned that your granddad was good friends with John Cleese, another really cool celebrity to meet. I brought up a fish called Wanda the other night. I had Kyle watch some clips because we were talking about the guy who plays Otto. Why can't I think of his name? I'm gonna Google it. Why can't I think of the name of Otto from a fish called Wanda? Kevin Kline. There we go, Kevin Kline, because he was in a movie. He's a voice actor in The Road to El Dorado. Your second cousin is Barbara Mandrell. I don't know if I spelled her last name correctly, but she's my grandma's cousin, and she's a country singer. That's cool. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't really know I don't know many people on my mom's side of the family. My dad has a lot of family, just a boatload of family. And I don't know. I know that my stepfather's like great grandfather was knighted. So my stepdad's last name is Liddy. And so there's like a Sir Liddy in my family. And if one of my step siblings just happens to be lurking here, which I know the probability is incredibly low, but if one of you happens to be lurking here right now, feel free to tell the story for me. But from what I was told, from what I remember, many generations ago, there was this guy who like saw someone disrespecting the king and like put up a stink about it. It was like, you can't do that. You can't be disrespectful. That's not good. And they knighted him for it. They're like, as a show for your loyalty to the kingdom, we will make you Sir Liddy. So there is some distant knight, some knighthood somewhere in my stepfather's family's bloodline. So yeah, I always thought that was like, that's like the very like the most benign way to become knighted is like he like made us stink about someone littering or something. Like, hey, don't be a litter bug. That's an honorable thing. Let's make you a knight. Here you go. We're gonna give you a sword and a horse and some cool armor. Now ride off into the night. Wow. Well, this has been a very informative stream. Today we learned that Alora's dad is a professional skydiver. That's wild. My dad was an electrician. And my stepdad Cliff was a plumber. And my stepdad Jim was a professor. So, look at that. 3 random professions. I bought a 1-foot patch of land in Scotland so you can use the surname Lord. That's cool. Yeah, like, I guess that's where landlord comes from, like owner of land. Yeah, a 1-foot patch of land. Is that like those things where you can buy a star? have you been to your 1 foot patch of land in Scotland? Do you plan to make a sojourn to Scotland to stand in your plot and just kind of like, if I had a 1 foot plot of land, what I would do is I would travel to it. I'd get all the way there, and then I'd do one of these. That would be my plan. I would do a little jig. Maybe I'd dig a hole because it's my land and I could do what I want. Maybe I'd plant a flower. Or I'd stomp it a bunch because it's my land and I do what I want. I would still try to find your location. If you've got the polar coordinates, if you've got the longitudinal, latitudinal, I would go there. Present your deed. And claim stake on your land. I'd put a flag. I'd make a flag for my 1 foot plot of land. I'd put like 20 flags in it. Why not? I'd go bonkers with flags. I could bring a little, like, you know how people like decorate a fish tank? I could decorate my land. Like I could buy like a castle and like I could put a lawn gnome in it. That would be cool. A castle with a lawn gnome with a flag. And that's probably, there's already too many things in there. I'd get one of those cool spheres that you see in front yards that looks like orbs. I'd get one of those because I always thought those were cool. And I would put a pinwheel in it. That's what I would do if I had a 1 foot plot of land. I've never owned a 1 foot plot of land before. I've never owned any land. I'm a renter, so. Am I having name brand canned ravioli or SpaghettiOs for New Year's Day meal? Oh my gosh, not off-brand. Well, you know they won't be off-brand, that's for sure. I need to make a spaghetti nose emote or something. Off-brand SpaghettiOs are no bueno, they're a no-go. You do have the location. Nintendo Lunchbox, the world, or the 1 foot plot is your oyster. The things you can do with that 1 foot plot of land. I mean, the sky's the limit. Mom, I just saw Oprah. It's true, I saw Oprah. It was the real deal. I saw her. And she waved back, and it was very princessly. I kind of want SpaghettiOs, to be honest. I'm actually craving them now that you say that. You might have just changed the course of this evening single-handedly in one comment, Ben. I am actually craving SpaghettiOs quite immensely now, and that sounds incredible, and I kind of want them. I'll have to tell Kyle I want SpaghettiOs. Oh, I was gonna do nachos, though. Jay Fryers brought up nachos the other day. I want SpaghettiOs and nachos. Those both sound amazing. SpaghettiOs and nachos, why not? Your friend's surname is Mullender from Mull Islander because her family owns the Isle of Mull in Scotland? Holy cow. Whirligig is a book about pinwheels. It's a bit sad though. How can you make a sad story about pinwheels? That's so sad. No or yes, pick one. Yes. I'm picking yes. You eat mac and cheese 1 time a week? I had mac and cheese yesterday, and we were planning to have it today, too. But I don't normally have mac and cheese on a weekly basis. Spaghetti nachos. Did we just form the greatest cuisine to have ever hit our great nation of the United States of America? Because I think we're on to something. It's Italian-Mexican fusion. It sounds like a really bad combo. I might be crazy enough to try it, though. Growing up in Chicago, you wanted to go see Oprah. You wanted to go to Harpo, but all you got was a ticket to Ricky Lake. Aww. I had my chances to see the Steve Harvey show when I lived in Chicago, but I never followed through. You have pizza 1 time a week? We had pizza yesterday, too. Well, it was the day before yesterday, I think. That's crazy, though. We did have pizza, and I was going to have pizza today. You eat spaghetti tacos? You gotta try spaghetti nachos. There's spaghetti tacos? Holy cow. I'm behind the times. iCarly enjoyed spaghetti tacos. See, there's no more original thoughts. iCarly always does it first. We'll never beat her to the punch, everybody. She's just too sharp. Alright, everybody. I have a tummy that's making the rumblies. It is quite loudly making rumblies. Spaghetti sandwich is where it's at. And we got Stephen Pyle in the chat. What's up? Nice to see you here. Deep dish or thin crust? Ooh, I I prefer deep dish, but only if it's Pequod's, because I really like Pequod's in Chicago. I do like Giordano's, though, but under normal circumstances, thin crust, because I like a good old-fashioned margarita pizza, you know? Oh, man, now the chat is popping. Julie Andrews is the best, isn't she? You saw Ellen once and randomly ended up on Christmas giveaway day? Sticky! Sticky, please, take the mic. Tell us the story of that. I feel like only Ellen compared with Oprah in the level of, like, giveaway-ocity. I feel like there's an incredible story there. What? You, like, were you an audience member on the show? That's craziness. Please tell the story of the off-brand SpaghettiOs or ravioli. All right. I'm going to tell the story of the off-brand SpaghettiOs. This might be the story I use to close out the stream, though. Once upon a time, I was an employee at an amusement park called Cedar Point. Cedar Point is America's rock and roller coaster ride-on. It is the largest collection of roller coasters in a single place, and it just so happens to be in a small little beach town called Sandusky, Ohio. It is a charming little beach town, and on this peninsula of what used to be a cedar forest is Cedar Point. And I worked there for a summer, and they would do a lot of interesting things that would be like fun perks for the employees. So they would host ride nights, which were where they would close down the amusement park for the general public, but they would keep one ride open like once a week or so. And so this week, I think it was the Maverick? No. It was either the Maverick or Shoot the Rapids, which they don't have anymore. We used to call it Shoot the Budget because the ride was like super over budget, super expensive, and then it had all these problems that took it like 75% of the season for them to open the ride finally. So anyways, I did a ride night, and I met this guy at the ride night, and normally the way I would get to where I lived, which was like these employee dormitories, is I would take a commuter bus back and forth from Cedar Point to the dormitories, and it was a giant school bus basically, and they would have them running on a schedule. But this was a very late and rainy night, and everybody was waiting in line for the bus, and I met this guy who was a ride op for the Maverick ride, which is one of the best roller coasters in the park. And we were chatting, and we'd probably run into each other before, and he said, hey, would you like a ride back? And this was one of those things where, like, we worked at the amusement park together, and you're not supposed to accept rides from strangers, but they weren't really a stranger, you know? They were, like, technically a coworker. So far be it from me to look a gift horse in the mouth. Of course I said yes. So he gave me a ride back to his place, and and it was fine, and it was great because I got to skip the line to the shuttle bus, which I would have had to wait like another 45 minutes before I would have gotten a seat on the bus. So I promise I'll read the chat. I feel bad because I'm missing some good stuff, but I'm definitely going to read back into it after I finish my off-brand SpaghettiOs story. So this guy, I can't even remember his name, but we go back to his place, and he lived in what was called the Commons apartment. So you could choose either the dorms or the apartments. The dorm is very traditional. You've got like 2 bunk beds in a single room. There's a wall air conditioning unit, cinder block walls, very basic, that's it. But the Commons apartments were 4 of those rooms with a communal kitchen and kind of living space. So people who lived in that kind of space were much more interested in rolling the dice on having 15 roommates that were clean people. I don't know why anybody would choose that, but you had the benefit of a kitchen. But every single person in history who's ever lived at the Commons apartments lived in these like junky, terribly unkempt places because no one cleaned, nobody did the dishes. So like you have a kitchen, but it's full of dishes, and the refrigerator's gross and everything. Thanks for popping in, Steven. I just saw your message. Happy New Year's to you. But so anyways, so I'm hanging out at the Commons apartment. I'm with this stranger that I very well might have met that night, even though he gave me a ride home. And I'm in a room with like 8 other people in one of these 4 sequestered apartments that were like all connected to that kitchen. And there's like 8 people in the room. I'm sitting on a bunk bed. I'm like drying off. He gave me a towel because it was downpouring outside. And he said, "Hey, would you like some food? I've got SpaghettiOs." And I'm like, "SpaghettiOs? Like, if I were an NPC in a dating sim game and you wanted to up my hearts, then giving me SpaghettiOs is a fantastic way to do it." So I said, "Yeah, because I'm hungry. I want food. You're offering me free food, and you're offering me free, good, cheap food that I enjoy." So I thought, okay, yeah, you got me hook, line, and sunk. Like, you figured me out. I am not a mystery. SpaghettiOs works on me like every time, or so I thought. So he goes to the microwave, the epitome of Cedar Point employee cuisine, and he nukes a can of SpaghettiOs for me. And while I'm sitting there, I'm hanging out with 7 people I've never met in my entire life. I'm just sitting on this top bunk bed, awkwardly hanging out. The power goes out because they have like approximately 13,000 electronics plugged into the walls of this particular apartment room. And every person on the planet decided this was the place to um to just hang out and spend time together. So so I'm sitting there and he comes back, this guy, and he hands me the bowl of SpaghettiOs, and immediately something's off. I'm like, the smell is different. What's going on here? And so I take a bite and I'm like, and that's when I realize that this man, this full grown adult, made the conscious decision to purchase off brand SpaghettiOs. I did not know that there was a demographic of humanity that bought off brand SpaghettiOs. I did not even know that there was an off brand SpaghettiO. I think my eyes just subconsciously glazed away from the off brand on the shelf because the only SpaghettiOs are the true ones. And the price difference has to be what? 7 cents? You can't tell me that the astronomical cost difference, that the cost benefit analysis of choosing the off brand SpaghettiOs was somehow great enough to choose it over the real deal. It makes absolutely no conceivable sense that this man chose the off brand can over the real thing. And so I'm sitting there in a room with 8 people. I mean, I thought this man was a friend, but now I know he's a stranger to me. I thought I knew something about him, but it turns out I know nothing about him and I never will. I'm in a room with 8 strangers and I am politely, because I'm from the Midwest, this is what Midwesterners do. I non-confrontationally, politely, and slowly shovel spoonfuls of disgusting off-brand SpaghettiOs into my mouth. With each bite, my disappointment becomes more and more immeasurable. And after some time, as I laboriously make my way through the most pathetic meal I've ever had in my entire life, a woman who was sitting on the bottom bunk looks up at me and she says, "Hey, do you think he's hot?" And she points at me and then she points at the man who had the audacity to serve me off-brand SpaghettiOs. And a moment before, the room was alight with conversation. Everyone was chattering and talking over each other. And the moment she asked that question, everyone went silent and looked at me. And it's as though God put a spotlight on my face and said, "Well?" And everyone waited for my response. Everyone waited. They had to know, do I think this man is hot? And time palpably passed by. I'm holding my mostly empty bowl of, at this point, lukewarm off-brand SpaghettiOs limply in my lap, and I'm looking down at him with grave disappointment in my soul. And I look at him and I go, he's okay, I guess. And the man who's sitting on the bunk below me hung his shoulders low and dropped his head in shame. And no one said a word after I said that. Everyone just decided to let that one hang in the air. Just let it coagulate and percolate for a while. And that is the story of the day that I was fed off-brand SpaghettiOs. You're so right, Nintendo Lunchbox. Sometimes I think about, would my opinion of him have been better if he just spent that 7-cent difference for the name brand SpaghettiOs? I honestly think it would have. I might have actually found him attractive if he had fed me the proper food. It's like when a bird gives another bird the wrong stick. I would never accept another ride again. I could have told, I mean, that could have been the beginning of a love story. I may not be living here in Maryland if he just spent 7 cents more. I may not be living here. I might be with I might have a whole different storyline, my friends. That was the choose your own adventure chapter storyline fork. And I chose no. But if he would have given me if he would have selected the right option in the dating sim and given me the correct SpaghettiOs, it would have fed my heart monitor to enough hearts that it could have tipped the scales. I don't know, maybe I would have been like, but I genuinely wasn't attracted to him. It was such a weird question to say, but I genuinely wasn't attracted to him. So I probably would not have, but that is the story of the day that will live on in infamy as the day that I was fed off-brand SpaghettiOs. All right, let's check in with the chat. And this is why it's impossible for me to stick to a time frame when I host these live streams. So, let me see here. Checking in. Oh, Sticky, you explained stuff with Ellen. Tell the story about the overheating Easy Mac? No, I don't. For another time. It wasn't Easy Mac. It was... I didn't make Easy Mac that became crunchy. I did have problems making the Hamburger Helper microwave singles, but that's a story for another time. So Sticky, you said it was a random day. I signed up to go with my sister to sit in the audience in October, and they filmed giveaways early, and we lucked out with $1,500 in gifts each. Score! Oh, that's sick. Maybe okay. I see now. I see. We're getting something directed specifically at Steven. Maybe the Easy Mac was supposed to be crunchy and disgusting. All right, let me check in with the chat. I'm gonna have fun meeting with your relatives, Juan. And welcome to everybody joining in. I'm sorry I haven't individually welcomed people who are joining in the chat, but on this note, my stomach is extremely hungry. I really want SpaghettiOs now. Should I put Kyle to the test? Should I tell him to get me SpaghettiOs and find out if he gets me off-brand? What would the consequence be if he got me off-brand? Do we have to break up? Is that the rule? Do I move out? Do I find a new life? Does my heart monitor, or does my heart meter just, like, go all the way down at the... upon receiving off-brand SpaghettiOs? Is that, like, the opposite of an aphrodisiac for me? Nachos are okay, no SpaghettiOs? Alright. Oh, man. Alright, everybody. I'm gonna sign out for now. That's what couples therapy was created for. Honestly, valid point. You guys want Kyle to be on stream, huh? You guys want to meet Kyle? We gotta get him on stream at some point. Deal breaker SpaghettiOs. It really is. Yeah. All right, everybody. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, wherever you happen to be in the world. And as always, each and every one of you could be anywhere on the internet, and you've chosen to spend this time with me, which I never want to take for granted. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed my last little anecdote about the worst gift I've ever received in my entire life. I used to think it was that time I got regifted, but it turns out it's off-brand SpaghettiOs, so to each their own. So ask for the name brand. It's not worth risking. It's not worth risking multiple years of a relationship. So thank you so much to everybody who's joining in. Feel free to listen to the archive once this gets uploaded to YouTube. Otherwise, I'm going to be signing out. Make sure to join my Discord. It is in the description of this video. If you tap on the description, you'll see the link to the invite that should be accessible to you. And we would be so appreciative if you joined the kingdom. So thank you again. And no shame in asking for the good raviolis. That sentence should be pinned with no context. No shame in asking for the good raviolis. That, I feel like someone could crochet that or like knit it onto a pillow, like cross-stitching it. Yeah, that should be cross-stitched right onto a pillow. Okay, everybody. Peace out for now, and I hope to catch you all on a future stream. Make sure to join my Discord if you want to know when. You could be anywhere on the internet, and you've chosen to spend this time with me, which I never want to take for granted. So thank you all super, super very much. You are all mega, ultra, super sweethearts, and I hope to catch you all next time. Bye.